Ladies and gentlemen, YouTubers around the world, welcome back to another How to Play FFA. I'm your host, Nasty888, and today we're going to be learning about how to play Byzantines. So before we get into things here, I just want to, make a quick request. I often forget to do this and also don't want to do this because it feels kind of cheap to me, but please give me a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content so far. I realized the other day that I have more videos posted than I have subscribers, which is kind of sad. But that's just the way it is these days for RTS games, of course. But do appreciate you guys' support. Anyways, let's get into things. So, as for choosing a starting location as Byzantine, of course, as I mentioned before, with pretty much every civ, getting on deer is optimal, is preferable. But there are some nice perks with certain civs to get berries, and Byzantines is one of those. Of course, the olive oil I'm referring to is always nice. It's also nice to have a set of berries, not just right on where you're building your town center, but nearby, somewhere where you want to build your grand winery. Is always going to be essential to have some berries there, so you can get that olive oil and get it out quick. Now, I've found a really nice spawn here with a lot of resources. That's why I've chosen this location, mostly for these other resources in this case. Tons of stone, tons of gold. We're rich here, right? This is great. And it's off to the side of the map, which is unusual and even preferable, right? So we got a great spawn here. We're gonna be getting things. Don't forget to throw your cistern down, guys, when you're spawning in free-for-all. Cistern is gonna, of course, improve your workers' gather speed, gather rate, but not only that, it is going to give you some opportunities here. In case you get attacked early on or need to fight, you want to have a cistern nearby so you can use the defense ability to turn your villagers into, basically into spearmen for 30 seconds, increase their armor with stronger weapons. So they're super powerful. A lot of times people will try to troll you. I've posted videos you guys have seen before. Let me go ahead and fix this replay thing. There we go. Now we're on the replay mode. You guys can't see the game timer, which is what we want. Anyways, as I was mentioning, very, very key ability early game. Especially if you need to fight as well, you can build this even before you finish your town center. Build a cistern, pop the ability, use all your villagers to fight somebody to kind of get them away from your where you're trying to set your base up, or if they just try to attack you for whatever reason. Sometimes people will do that in FFA, unfortunately. It's just the unfortunate side effect of playing Nomad mode. But it does happen, right? But we figured out ways to deal with it. Maybe we'll make a separate video talking just about how to fight with your vills in the early game like that, since it's a very important skill to have in FFA and Nomad mode. But anyways, let's get into things here. So we're going to build... we've noticed that we have an opponent nearby. He is a French player, of course. We're scouting out. And so we've built this house here. Now with Byzantine, you do get an ability. I think in age 2 you can research an ability to increase the vision of your houses provide. So the reason we put this house here is to give us more vision over here in case our opponent does something. We want to keep an eye on him, right? So that's why that's there. But also, we don't want to push it too far. If I built it like here, then I could really see what's going on. But he could also just send a unit out here and kill it. So we want to protect our house a bit, but we also want vision, right? So that's why it's here. Building a mill here, just to give us closer access to these berries. And yeah, getting into things here. I guess we can do a quick take a look at the map and see what kind of map we're dealing with. But I'm mostly gonna watch this game from my perspective to give you guys information about decision making and stuff like that. So you can see we have a river map. Pit layer is pretty spread out. It's just me and green over here. But let's go ahead and get into things here. So first thing we're going to be going into is our H2 landmark, and I'm going to talk about that now. So in this game we're going to be going for Grand Winery, which is what you're going to be doing in most games. There are some games where if you really want to go into a cavalry composition, you might want to go for Hippodrome, and by extension the Cistern for H3. But in my experience, unless you're on like a really good deep water map or something like that, might be the situation where you do that, where you have tons and tons of food. You're probably not going to want to do that. just because getting your Grand Winery up is really important. As Byzantine, olive oil production is a very great resource to have, even though we do have plenty of gold in our spawn here on this map. We are on Mega Random, not Mega Land Mega Random, where we're going to have more limited gold. We do have a lot of gold. We still want to make sure that we get plenty of olive oil, because that's going to be a free resource, an extra resource to supplement our gold as Byzantines. Now, one of the things I like to do if you want to play greedy as Byzantine, if you're kind of farther away from people, we're not really too far away from people in this case. We are next to green here, but we haven't noticed it, and we won't notice it until we go to kill green, that he's actually left the game. So, really important, keep an eye on that, you know, the player list, guys. Sometimes you miss something, someone leaves, you don't realize who it is. And you know, you might go to, you know, build a whole army to go fight somebody, and then realize, oh, they're already gone, they've already left. It's not a big deal. But if we had known that green had left early in this game, we could have made greedier decisions here. But you also want to be careful, because sometimes players can attack you, and unexpectedly, right? Sometimes someone might decide that you're their target, even though they're farther away than you would expect them to decide to attack you with. For example, we're going to see in this game, I believe, this blue player is going to be aggressive on us, even though, as we've mentioned before, he's got other people much closer to him. They are on the other side of the river, so I guess he feels there's a natural barrier here. He doesn't have to worry about these players as much, and he's going to set his sights on us later. But we'll talk about that soon. So, what we're doing here is, I got way too many on gold. I don't know what's going on there. I was trying to get some gold for some upgrades here. Now that we've gone into our second town center, as I often mention, you should always try to do in FFA, unless of course you're trying to go to castle to get aggressive on somebody or to you know, secure the relics. You typically want to get that second town center at the very least, right? And if we had realized that green had left this game, we may have even gone into 3 town centers. But just because of the way this game played out, if we had done that, I think we would have, blue would have rolled us over based on what happens here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Another thing you want to do when you're playing in the corner, kind of greedy, is you want to get as many cisterns set up as you can. So just, you know, obviously use your first stone for the second town center, but, you know, leave some guys mining and keep getting cisterns up. As you can see here, we're already putting our 3rd cistern down, only 10 minutes, and honestly, you want to try to get up to like 5 even if you can, because as I mentioned before, the gather rate is improved, and you can keep stacking that all the way up to 5 cisterns if you connect them all, which is great. You can get a 26% increased gather rate, which is insane. So now let's talk about Byzantine army composition in units that they have. So Byzantine is kind of an interesting civ in that they have some unique units and they have access to units from other civs, but they don't have a lot of unique upgrades to their own units, except for like the cavalry that we're not going to really talk too much about in this game because we're going to be focusing more on the other stuff. But Byzantine units aren't the strongest, but they are very versatile. You have access to, you have a lot of choices to make, so it's kind of hard to make a guide to give you guys exact information, because it's all going to depend on what you're facing, like which you know, contract are you going to go into here. We already skipped over that, but let's go ahead. I wonder if I can, crap, tech tree, here we go. Let's go ahead and look at the tech tree for Byzantine before we go any farther here. So let's see, where is our, here we go, mercenary house. So we have 3 choices to make in the early mid game. You can wait and delay, but there's 3 choices. I will talk about this one briefly because this is the one I find myself almost never going into. So we have access to the Keshik, the Gulam, and the Tower Elephants. Now this, I think, is pretty much something you would just choose to go to if you're going either cavalry, hard cavalry, and you wanted the Keshik, you know, or you wanted to go for late game with the Tower Elephant. But really, like, this one is kind of like, it's if you have the freedom to do it, you can try it if you want, but I've almost never gone into this contract. And I'll talk about why, because of these other contracts. Now, this is probably the most common choice here. You got access to the English Longbowmen, you have the Landsknecht, and you have the Strelski, all of which are good. Strelski, I think, is even better now, so that's a really good one to go into. Obviously, all these units are great for different reasons. Having the longbow allows you to avoid going into your own, archer, and the longbowman has a longer range, so it's a little bit better in some ways, even though its movement speed is slower. It can be more useful to harass players or to defend, especially very good defensive unit. Lance Collect, of course, you all know from HRE is melee that cleaves, and so it's basically amazing against any clumped up melee units. Very good unit to have. Strelsky, of course, gunpowder late game unit, also amazing. So this is probably the most common one I would recommend, just like a go-to against catch-all against pretty much everything. Now this final one, the Silk Road Mercenary, this is going to be more preference, and this game we're actually going to be going for this, and I'll explain why in a moment. But for the first unit, the Javelin Thrower, if you're going up against your opponent's English Longbowman or something like that, it can be very nice to have. If you're getting Archer rushed early game, the Javelin kind of counters the Archer in some ways. And it's a very nice unit to make to defend yourself if you need to fight enemy Longbowmen or Archers. Also, the Camel Rider is a great unit, and it's good against cavalry. And the reason why I'm going to be going into the Camel Rider this game is because I don't know that my opponent, the French player, has left the game, and I'm thinking that I want to have Camel Riders in order to fight his cavalry. But of course, we also have access to the Grenadier. For me, the Grenadier, it's obviously a very powerful unit, and if you can afford them, it's great. But late game with Byzantine, you're probably going to be relying on your other landmark. The siege units, you're going to be spending most of your olive oil using getting those cannons and nested bees and stuff like that. So you're probably not going to be worrying too much about these elite units in the contracts as much. That's why we're not too worried about the Tower Elephant or the Grenadier or the Strelsky, really, because we're probably going to be using most of our. We could use our olive oil on this if we want to, but obviously siege units are great in the game, and you always need some cannons late game, right, to push people to break their keeps, their castles, stuff like that, their walls. So it's usually you want to get the cannons and maybe even the nested bees in that situation. So that's what we have here, guys. This is a good one to counter cavalry or archers if you're getting attacked, if you're planning to fight early. Otherwise, your go-to is probably going to be the Western contract. All right, so let's continue on. So you can see we've stacked quite a bit of olive oil. Now this is probably not, the reason I've done this is because I'm planning to make a bunch of camel riders. And the javelin thrower I don't think is going to really help me unless my opponent also makes archers as well as cavalry, which they are likely to do. In some better French players, we usually make a composition of knights and archers. So we could get some javelin throwers, but we haven't scouted any of that yet. And we did scout. Before this player left the game, we scouted he was going for a double town center build, so we weren't too worried about him pushing us. That's why we're playing fairly greedy here. We're taking our H3 pretty late here. We're at 15 minutes. We're finally getting the Gilded Horn Tower. Now, as I mentioned before, the choice for landmarks here, this is pretty much the one you're going to be going through 90% of the time. Free mercenary units, of course, great. And then the other one is for the cavalry. If you're going to be focused heavily on cavalry, you can do that. But for the most part, I recommend going for the Horn Tower. Just to get your free unit supplements are pretty nice to have. So we see a player's been picked off. We're not too worried about it. We do our queen check. We don't even know where the player was, but that could have been a trigger for us to realize that this player has left. However, it didn't work out that way. Pink was destroyed. We saw that pink died here to red. So red has picked up a kill. Now we're going to start massing our army. We've upgraded. We're going to start spending our olive oil, and you see we're queuing up some camel riders to deal with green, who is actually already dead. And I think about now is the time when we're going to realize, oh, wait a minute. Okay, we don't have to worry. This player has left the building, and maybe I have somehow saw it. I think I just queued up my. Now's the moment. I'm sure that I'll realize. Oh yeah, okay. And someone could have come over here, of course, and killed this king earlier. Fortunately for us, that didn't happen. And fortunately for us, we actually did make some units to fight him, because you're about to see pretty soon as I'm realizing this, and oh wait, I have a free kill here. I should play more greedy. Maybe I should rush H4. I'm not scouting blue closely enough, and he's going to kind of take me off guard and surprise me here. So you do want to be scouting your nearest opponent always throughout the game. I've sent my scout over here and forgotten about him. but I really should realize, okay, blue is the next target or next opponent closest to me. Only one really on this side of the river besides purple, but purple's way down here, so I probably should be thinking about what blue might be doing right now, but I'm not. I'm getting a little greedy here, going for my 5th cistern, and boom, blue shows up in the base. So now as you see, I was saving up for Imperial here, but now I need to quickly switch back into production. I made a few archer ranges and barracks, but we do need to start grinding out some units here very quickly. Fortunately, we already had a small army already ready to go here to fight the opponent who left, and we're going to be able to base blue off here, but he does have a lot of these gilded men-at-arms, as we can see, so we really need to get some crossbows out. We have a few already, but not really enough. They're kind of going down and getting targeted here. Not the best micro on my part, but the counter to all men-at-arms, of course, if you have it on your civ, is crossbows, so we just need to spam those as much as possible, as well as get our own men-at-arms to tank his men-at-arms, right? So yeah, we're in an okay position here. We're kind of getting overrun though. His army's a little bit too big for me. He has some pretty good upgrades. It looks like +2 upgrades for melee and for ranged armor, and melee attack and ranged armor. So, but we are starting to reinforce pretty quickly here, right? We're spending the rest of our olive oil. We haven't spent all of our. We could have thrown down some more production if we were worried about this. Probably a little bit of a mistake there, but he doesn't seem to have too much here, and you can just see that he's for some reason focusing our town center instead of fighting our army, which we still have quite a bit of, 13 crossbows, and this isn't going to bode well for the blue player, obviously. So we can speed things up here a little bit. As you can see, his attack is running out of steam here. Let's go take a look at what our blue player actually did. So he was HRE. He did get a couple relic here, and he did go for Regnitz. This is kind of funny. This is a lot of fishing boats, but he did just spam for instead of typically what you'll do as HRE is go Imperial, which it's a very unusual build. If he was going to do this kind of a build, you would have expected maybe a Burgrave Palace, but he went for the Regnitz, and he just made some production on the side instead of. He never really got his production going, or his economy going very strongly. It looks like he has a few fishing boats, but it looks like a lot of them were killed. So he's actually kind of falling apart in this game, and we're going to see him, I think he taps out pretty soon, yep, right now. So we realized that he tapped out right away, his units were still here, and we saw it. So this time we're going to go there, rush for his king. And now we can sit back and try to get our H4, because right now, we've got 1 kill for guaranteed. We might get a second one if we get the blue first. So things are looking pretty good for us. We can kind of just sit back and relax. We don't need to worry too much about anything. And we can see indeed we did find the kill. We sent our camels in as quickly as possible by running them out of formation. One of the things you guys need to remember to do, it's kind of a pain, but when you select all your army, if you tab through each unit, you can give it commands to move individually, and that will get it. That will basically break the formation, and they will be able to move there wherever you want them to go as fast as possible instead of waiting for the other units in the group to go. So now that we're chilling with 2 kills, we're really feeling good, right? We want to just sit back. We want to go to Imperial. We want to get our walls. We don't want to make ourselves any more of a target than we already have by getting 2 kills. We're going to start throwing up more cisterns, even though we already have the 5, just for these production, for these gatherings out here. For some reason, okay, there we go. Soon we'll have unlocked very fast production there, yep. Or a very fast gathering, rather. We can keep doing that as we expand across the map. I'm saving some of these golds in my base for later. I don't need to worry about harvesting them. I want to take the ones kind of at the extremities of my base, out here. Those are the ones that are going to be harder to gather later in the game, so we want to try to get them now if we can. And we have gone into Imperial Age. We see that some of our opponents are already there, except for yellow. But now as we want to really get our Vil count up to like 160 or so. When you have 250, 300 supply, you want a lot of, you want to increase your, not just your army count, but you want to increase your Vil count to match that increased supply, right? You want to be able to produce units quickly and efficiently. We're now throwing down some defenses and keeping our army at home. There's really no reason to push out. We want to make sure we have some protection. We want to try to get some walls out before we move our army completely out of our base. And you can see me actually making a bit of a mistake here. And just going, I did just get my keep up, so I feel a little bit safe, but really what I should be doing is maxing out completely, and I should be getting my walls up. Here we go, they're starting to go up. I'm at least building walls on the side where I'm not moving my army towards, because if an army comes up around this way, I can easily move my army to intercept it. But if an army comes from, over here, then I won't be able to react in time. So that's why we really need the walls on the side that we're not moving army. And we are maxed out, nearly maxed out. So I decided, okay, I'm ready to kind of poke and see what's going on out here. Maybe a bit prematurely. I don't think I have my university upgrades yet. Let's take a look. I don't even know where my university is, actually. Here it is. So yeah, we've got a couple. We've got elite army tactics and the bows, but we haven't gotten everything. And we're not 100% maxed, but we've gotten a couple of blacksmith upgrades earlier in the game when we were fighting, but we kind of forgot about our blacksmith upgrades. So we're a little bit behind on them. We'll 2-2 with everything, but we want to get to 3-3, obviously, to take the best trades possible, right? So this is kind of a waste for me. Even though this is an even trade, or a good trade for me, I guess it's positive because I think I end up kind of winning this fight, even though it's just trading out. This could have been better, right? We could have had 3-3 on everything. We could have had more university upgrades. We could have been actually maxed here. There was no reason to push out this early. This was a little bit too premature of an attack after getting 2 kills this early in the game. So we're backing up. We're realizing that we're going to wait for the rest of our upgrades and our army to remax again. We thought that purple was probably fighting yellow, and it turned out he was just sitting in his base. So it ended up being not the best fight for us. We were hoping we'd get a free snipe there. Maybe if purple had been engaged with yellow over here, then that may have been the case. But since he was already at home, we kind of ended up just trading with him. Another problem with me attacking purple here, I think, is that if I secure another kill, I'm definitely going to be targeted, and we're going to talk about that this game. In fact, when it happens, because that's an important thing I haven't talked about enough, I think. Well, I've talked about it before for sure, but when you're getting a bunch of kills, sometimes that's going to trigger better players to call you out and to try to rally the lobby to fight you. Right now I figure that red is fighting yellow, since I know that purple's not fighting yellow. And if we go over to the all, we can see they're just gathering up their armies. They're not really fighting at this moment, but it could be. I'm just kind of sitting back here. We know that red already has a kill, so he actually should have been, I think, my target here. This was a bit of a mistake going after purple, who is at 200 supply. Yellow is at 200 supply, and red is at 300 supply, actually. Okay, so red actually got 2 kills, so he's dead. I made a huge mistake this game, guys, not targeting the biggest threat in the lobby. And yeah, we definitely yeah, should not be here with purple right now. This is a huge blunder on my part, even though we are going to easily, as you can see, clean this up and probably get this kill. This is definitely a problem because now red has a reason to attack me. And what actually happened in this game was when I killed this player here, which we're doing right now, red calls me out to yellow. He said, hey, yellow, orange is at 300 supply, so we need to focus him. Now, I knew I was at 350, so I didn't say anything. But I thought red was only 250. So I could have, if I had known that red was 300, if I'd been paying better attention here, we could have recognized the fact that we should actually just tell yellow, hey, actually red is also 300. And, you know, I'm just a Byzantine player. He's an HRE, right? He's the bigger threat. Of course, I'm the biggest threat here right now because of my 350. But, you know, the problem here now is that I'm going to be facing a 2v1 because I don't say anything, because I didn't realize some things. I should have been fighting red this whole time. Instead, I went after purple, and now we're going to be in a bit of a spot here as yellow and red invoke. So now that I know they've agreed in the chat to fight against me, I've decided to push forward, and I want to secure the sacred site and try for a sacred victory. Because it's going to be, I know it's going to be a real challenge to fight both of these armies, push in and destroy them, even though ideally I would like to push one of them and kill them. And I do know that yellow is the weaker opponent here of the two. So I'm trying to, kind of hoping that I can do that and just kind of fight yellow without fighting red right away. But unfortunately for me, the situation is going to be that red is a pretty good player, as well as having 300 supply. He's very good at multitasking, and what you're going to see here is some unfortunate things are going to start happening to me for pushing out here. We're a little bit slow on this sacred site, but we are getting it. We are pushing yellow's army back, which is at least the bare minimum goal that I'd hoped for. But we do see now red is pushing forward into my base, and he's cleverly not gone into a very expensive unit composition. He's just using infantry and rams, so he's probably banking quite a bit, I would imagine. Not too much, but he's definitely got and not as many vills as I was expecting either. I would expect him to be just banking tons of vills and not having such a big army, but he does have a huge army here. We can see that I'm unfortunately getting broken into. Moving my army back now, having to retreat. I can't rally enough reinforcements to defend this, I realize. So I have to bring my army home. It's too big of an army. So here they come now. And we didn't quite get all of our upgrades on our keep here, so that's not great. But we are going to be able to defend here, but of course red, very annoying player, is going to be sending small groups of units towards the back of our base into different sections, slowing us down. But we are starting to secure the sacred site, and things are going pretty well here. The problem is we're just getting split up, right? Like, do we defend at home and protect our king, or do we defend the sacred site? One thing we could do is move our king up here to the sacred site, but the problem is if he still all of our landmarks are back in the base, so if we do completely abandon the base, we are still going to risk landmark snipes, right? So have to be careful there. Now that we know that red is aware of all of our landmark positions as well, he's sent his units back here and scouted our H4 landmark in the back, so we can't really just completely abandon this base. Also, moving our king forward here is kind of risky. We don't have full vision here, so we have to be careful of a snipe. Another hope I have is even if I do lose the sacred site, maybe yellow will realize that red is a threat as well, and we'll go back to like some kind of stalemate position. But we do have Trebs shooting at us from across the pond here. A bit annoying here, this situation. It's hard to focus these Trebs down with the water here. We're doing our best. Getting rid of these docks. We don't want any big capital ships coming, even though I think the keeps should defend us pretty well against any naval attack. Sometimes they can still be pretty annoying. So clock's starting to tick down. Red's pushing forward here to fight us. He's going for looks like he's going for our cannons. Nope, he's backing up. He realized, wait a minute, I don't want to attack here. There's all these emplacements on these keeps. But yellow has decided to attack us. Now if these players attacked together, they probably could have done better, but unfortunately for us, we are successfully defending against yellow here. But once again, we have a problem behind us now. We have red coming through to our base, and it's just a problem of being, pulled apart, right? Like, I either fall back and lose the sacred site, or I don't fall back, I stay forward, and I probably lose the game via king snipe or via landmark defeat. So, trying to multitask and figure out. You just want to scout as much as possible, put some towers up, and see where armies are, and do your best to make a mobile unit composition. I've gone into a kind of a mixed unit composition to help defend, because I know I need siege to defend this. But ideally it would just be like, at this point maybe a bunch of cataphracts might be more valuable here, just to keep myself mobile. But also we need to be able to counter what our opponents are fielding, right? So just having cataphracts probably isn't going to be the best either. We are getting overrun here. We pull back most of our army. We left a few units here to help defend. I guess we lost our cannons up here, unfortunately, so the Trebs are kind of having free reign. Once again, we're being pushed back into our base. and things are just not going well. Red is going all over the place. Yeah, he's just in our base everywhere, being super annoying. The clock is ticking down, but now we don't have enough units up front to defend yellow. We have a bunch of elephants that are a huge problem here, which we don't have enough units to defend, so we're starting to send our units forward, but they haven't even cleaned up what's in our base yet, so it's a complete disaster, guys. Complete mess here. At some point, I think we're going to realize that we just need to give up on the sacred site, even though we're about a minute and a half, I believe, left on the timer. Unfortunately, it's going to be neutralized, and with that, our chances of winning this game right now are over. And the way things are going, it's looking like if these players continue teaming on us, it's going to just be over. So, unfortunately, that is what's going to happen here. Spoiler alert. We still have red harassing us in the back, sending units everywhere. We have yellow pushing forward with his elephants. And at some point here, I'm going to realize that I can't remax, I can't rebuild my army when yellow pushes through here. And it's going to be over pretty quick for me. So this is something that like to watch out for, guys. Obviously, I talked about earlier, attacking the right player, the player who's the biggest threat is the priority. So instead of killing purple here, I should have killed red here, fought red there, and maybe things would have been different for me this game. But once it's done, it's done. You can try to politic your way out of it, but once people decide to ally with other players, they're probably not going to change their mind unless they get really annoyed by the player. So I decided to just give my king over to yellow here, who is in my base anyways, probably going to destroy me and get out of the game because it was over for me. But we can watch the rest of this game here play out. I'm pretty sure I was pretty confident that red was going to roll over yellow, which I think is what's going to happen here. Especially with yellow being super out of position with all his elephants. He's just not going to be in position to defend pretty well against what red has. As we see red, his army isn't the biggest right now. Let's take a look at what he's got. Like I said, his economy never really got to the place that it could have been. We expect a little bit more out of red in terms of villagers, but he decided to focus heavy on army, which kind of also made it difficult for us. And now yellow is coming back, and he does have a much bigger army, I think, than red does, if I'm not mistaken. But his economy is just completely destroyed too. He's not doing too well there either. I don't know what happened with his builds, but he just didn't build that many of them. Let's see how this trade goes. It looks like yellow actually does have a pretty strong army here. But if red can pull him apart, maybe he'll have a better shot at winning this. Red really needs to just field some better units. I don't know why he's only made infantry this whole game. What you need is some crossbows, some cannons, stuff to destroy these elephants. It's going to be important. Some spearmen, of course. And we do see just a bunch of men-at-arms and spearmen, and very few crossbows here for red. So both these players playing on very low economy, but the military size for yellow is just insane right now. Both players' military is actually very insane, so very unusual playstyle here. Both these players going for an extremely potent militaries. Let's see, we see red kind of sandwiching yellow from both sides here. So he should be able to take a pretty decent trade, but like I said, his army composition just maybe is not the best. He does have a decent number of spears, but yeah, that's looks like yellow's just gonna kind of clean him up here. I guess maybe red never got enough. Let's take a look at his landmarks here. Trying to find. Oh, he has a Burgrave. Okay, that explains a lot. So he never really got a very good gold economy. He never really got relics. I don't see any relics, in fact. He's got all these buildings, but no relics. So yeah, it's kind of a suicide mission going for Burgrave as HRE in this game in free for all, because you're gonna be short on gold the whole game and stone that you're missing out on. So we do see that yellow is going to take the win here, actually. Very impressive. Good play from yellow. So there you go. That's the end of this video, guys. Hope you guys learned some things about Byzantine. I think we didn't talk about the final landmark, maybe, is one thing we skipped over. So we can do that now. If we can get out of this game. So here. Learn Byzantine. All right. So we have two options for our final landmark. This one is going to allow you to build siege with your olive oil, and this one is going to allow you to when you train the unique units for Byzantines, you basically get a 30% chance to also spawn one. So it's like it's kind of like the a little bit like the Golden Horn Tower, right? Mercenary units are free. In this case, unique units are free when you train them. So this will probably be a lot faster. If you're just when you're training your army, you probably get a lot of extra units. But I've always typically gone with this one just because I like to spend my olive oil on the siege. You could try the other one if you don't want to focus on siege at all. If you want to play a game like with very mobile army composition, you don't want to rely on siege. It's definitely an option. You could rely more on your mercenary skills for the for the olive oil usage instead of making siege units. But late game, I found I always want some cannons, so that's nice to have. But yeah, either way you want to go there, guys, I definitely recommend this one. But this one could be tried. I haven't really experimented a lot myself with it. But yeah, like I said, the strength of Byzantine is with the versatility of the types of units that you can make. It's not with the specific units themselves are not as powerful. You'll find, for example, the cataphract, even though it has some very cool, unique abilities with it, especially if you get the right landmarks to support it, it typically isn't as going to be as strong as other knight heavy civs like HRE knights, or sorry, OOTD knights, what are the Rus, Mongols, and French. All of those knights are going to be feel a little bit stronger, just one-on-one. It's just kind of unfortunate the cataphract isn't like the strongest knight for whatever reason. But if you do decide to do it, this might be a decent landmark. You could get extra cataphracts, something like that. And yeah, so you're using the flask, and then of course if you get the hippodrome, you have an ability there, so you're going to want to hotkey that landmark to use it when you want to activate the triumph ability to make them a little more powerful. So maybe they'll be able to do a little bit more than they normally would otherwise. But that's it for Byzantines. There's a lot to go over here, guys, with Byzantine. Obviously, a lot of choices to make. So this isn't obviously going to cover every situation in free-for-all, but hopefully it was enough to cover some things for you guys. And let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Catch you in the next one. Peace.